In this class, we're going to use over 7 different varieties of rice. There are over 8,000 cultivars of rice currently being grown someplace in the world. So there are some that have similarities and there are many that are different. You're going to see a lot of differences in the way rices are cooked and their end results in this class. One thing that's going to maintain consistency is we're always going to rinse the rice first before we cook it. Sometimes we're going to rinse it and then immediately cook it. Sometimes we're going to rinse it and soak it for a while. Sometimes we're going to soak it overnight. There's a lot of variables, and you'll get to see 7 different variations on that, depending on the type of rice. For long-grained white rice, which we would typically consider to be Chinese rice, when this rice is packaged, it's not handled all that delicately. They'll use snow shovels to fill the bags. They throw it around like the commodity that it is, and oftentimes the rice will get broken, and the broken rice will turn into powder. The external kernels, the intact kernels, will be coated with this fine starch of broken rice. If you cook it like that, you'll probably get maximum yield and probably, some people argue, maximum nutrition, but you will also get maximum density. It's a very thick, heavy rice because it's coated with this sort of rice slurry. So to get a lighter, fluffier rice, we generally rinse it, and we rinse it several times. Now, several could mean anything over 2. If the water runs clear after 3 or 4 rinsings, fine. If it takes 7 or 8 rinsings, well, it takes 7 or 8 rinsings. You should usually figure on 15 to 20 minutes of rinsing the rice before it goes into the steamer. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me rinse rice for 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to do a sort of a before and after thing. What I want you to understand is when you rinse rice, you do it very gently. If I tell most Westerners, we're not a rice culture, if I tell most Westerners to rinse rice, their initial reaction is to put it into a China cap, turn the water on full blast, and shake the living daylights out of it. All that's going to accomplish is breaking the rice, releasing more starch, making it starchier and gluier, and ending up with a denser product. So whenever you're rinsing or handling the rice, you're going to handle it very, very delicately and very gently. We will use a China cap, but that'll just be so that we don't lose too much down the sink. Now the first step is going to be to take it over to the sink. And what I'd like you all to be able to see is that with less than 1 inch deep of water, you can't even see the rice. That's how murky it is. That's how much surface starch is on the grains. So we need to rinse this repeatedly to get rid of that until this water is clear. So the next step is going to be carefully, gently strain away the murky water. Again, don't shake it, don't break it, just let the water drain it. And you're going to put it back into the bowl, and you're going to rinse it again and strain it, and rinse it and strain it, and rinse it and strain it until the water is clear, and you'll end up with a nicer, lighter, fluffier rice. Now again, I'm not going to make you watch me do that. It would be way too much time out of your prep. Depending on what part of Asia you were in, you might see an electronic rice cooker. You might see a bamboo steamer over a wok. You might see a tin can over a charcoal fire for cooking the rice. We will use a rice cooker at some point in this course. What you will generally see in a Western kitchen is going to be a convection steamer. Stand up a little. The steamer in this class just simply has an on-off valve. Turn it on, preheat it for at least 15 or 20 minutes. When you open the door, you should see steam coming out. I've just turned it on, so right now it's not up to temperature. Make sure this door is closed tightly. So before you begin your rice rinsing, start preheating. The next thing to understand about using the steaming chamber is we're going to use hotel pans to steam the rice in. The hotel pans will each accommodate 10 cups of rice, no more, otherwise it's too crowded. So we have a total of 20 cups of rice here. We're going to pretend, right, this is just to save a little time, we're going to pretend that I've sufficiently rinsed this. The sous chefs are going to come back afterwards and really rinse it. We're going to divide the 20 cups of rice more or less evenly between the two hotel pans. And then how much water will we add? Well, it's always good to have a ratio in your head for almost anything you do. For steaming rice, the ratio of 1 to 1 works good. By volume, 1 part water to 1 part rice. However, that being said, in Asia, they tend to do things a little bit more tactfully, a little bit more by touch and by sight. A method that works very well, that I've seen applied all over Asia, is to simply add water to the rice. And for some reason that I haven't figured out yet, this method works no matter what size container or how much rice or what the shape of the container is, or it just works. If the rice is relatively flat and uniform in the container, and you rest your hand just on top of the rice, don't press into it, what you'll see is you add enough water to the rice so that the water just comes up to the beginning of your knuckle on your index finger. I could add maybe just a splash more water. And that works out to be 1 to 1. If you drained all the water out of here, it would be within an ounce or two of equal ratio. If I'm steaming rice on a stovetop in an all-clad pot at home, it works. If I'm steaming it in a bamboo steamer, or in a bamboo steamer inside of a wok in Southeast Asia, it works. So either 1 to 1 measurement or knuckle deep. Okay. I know I've just given you a lot of information really quickly. We're going to change rice in every country we go to. So if you're the sous chefs responsible for the rice, when we get to Korea on day 4, for instance, if you don't remember much of what I've just said, then ask me. Because when we change the rice, the basics of rinsing it and measuring the amount of water will usually stay the same, but we may need to soak it, we may need to steam it longer, we may need to steam it shorter. Make sure that you understand what we're doing so that when we get to service at 11 o'clock, we have well-prepared rice. It's the Asian kitchen. If we don't do rice right, we look kind of silly. Okay? Thanks a lot.